You should become a category of one in whatever category you're in. They should say, there's no other brand I buy in this category because this is my brand. This is the brand that identifies with who I am. I support this brand's mission. I support their vision. Their product delivers on the promise, and this is my brand. Okay, so here's your fast pass for success. I thought a lot about this particular podcast, and the reason I'm doing it is because I see it in so many companies and brands, and I feel like it's just missed. And I think it's starting to be talked about now, but it's interesting to me that it's only starting to become the focus because I grew up in a brand where it was the entire focus. And that is building your brand story, and staying true to who and what your brand stands for. So really your brand is just your unique identity. It's your unique identity. It's what makes you a category of one in whatever category you're in. So let's just take, for instance, swim. Because as you know by now, I was in 15 years, I was in one of the, I think, the best swimwear brands and that's ever, hit the market, Vicks swimwear. And I can tell you that that was a big part of our discipline, which was brand building. We were sort of ahead of our time in that way because the owner and visionary, Paula Hermanny, had a vision for her brand. She brought swimwear, Brazilian swimwear, to the United States. And I would tell you that she actually built a category of fashionable swim. Before that, it's not as though there wasn't swimwear, but no one was buying swimwear as a fashion statement. No one was really buying even cover ups. We were just throwing our denim shorts or a t shirt over our swimsuit. She built a category of one based on a lifestyle that she knew and loved in Brazil. And she saw the void in the market. She came to the United States to study marketing, and she ended up bringing swimwear as a category. I mean, she ended up starting this brand in her garage. If you want to see the story, you can watch my video. I interviewed her, Paula Hermanny. It's the interview with her. So I really recommend you watch it. But here I'm going to shortcut things for you, and I'm just going to tell you that for us, it's all we knew. Everything we did, every photo shoot, every piece of social media, every catalog, every lifestyle shoot, all of the things that you do when you build a brand, everything was very clearly dialed in as to who the Vix woman was and what the brand stood for. Her design was consistently what the brand stood for. And she was very clear that I don't need everyone to buy my brand, but for the woman that identifies with this brand, I want her to feel it's a lifestyle for her. I want her to buy my brand when she's going on vacation or whatever she's doing. And I want her to be able to not even cut the tags, buy it, put it in her suitcase, and know that it's going to fit, know that it's going to be beautiful, know that she's going to be stopped 5 times on the beach and asked, who made your swimsuit? Where did you get it? And that was sort of her vision. She wanted women to feel beautiful in swimwear. And she also wanted women to feel beautiful in Brazilian cut swimwear. And that was something that was very new to the United States. People didn't think about wearing smaller bottoms on the back. It was definitely something that was building, a discipline around telling our story as to why we felt that these more, and I'm not talking about even thongs, I'm just saying literally smaller Brazil cut bathing suits. We would tell that story over and over again, how it made the woman's body look beautiful and that she should embrace her curves. She should embrace her beauty because that's what she came from. In Brazil, you're 65, 70, you're still wearing a Brazilian cut suit. They didn't have the body image issues that we sometimes face here in the United States. So it was very new to the United States to have someone come over and say, I'm going to build beautiful swimwear with details, with 18 karat gold details, and all of these things that were really new to the category. If you fast forward now, 20 years later, and you look at her brand, it's still that core brand DNA. And that is why she's building a big business in retail now. And she continues to have a following of buyers, of tribe, of women who love her brand. And it's because she built the brand. And so I will just say this, nowadays, anyone can start a brand. I just saw an ad on my Instagram, and it was about build a brand in 1 hour. And it was selling, puppy hats or something, and it was like, build your, do your logo on Canva, and then in 1 hour start your Shopify store. Within 24 hours you'll be selling. And I think that's amazing. I love the fact that people have access to starting a business. But I can tell you that unless you want a one hit wonder, you need to build a brand around that business, because when push comes to shove and there are other people who enter your category because they see what you're doing and they want a piece of it, if they're telling a better story, if they have a DNA that is clearer, if they have something they stand for, if they resonate with the consumer will move their dollars to them. That is just how it works. It's no longer just competing for creating new market. Now it's the pie is already full, right? In most categories, the pie is full. Now it's figuring out, how do I move some of that slice of pie to my business? How do I grab more of these consumers? How do I keep these consumers? This is why loyalty programs are so important now, because it's not just about getting a customer, it's about retaining a customer. And you do that through having a brand, having a story, and telling that story through your products. And when that customer receives your products, they feel that they are now engaged with something, not just a consumer product, but there's a lifestyle that they are now sort of buying into, and that is part of who they are. My husband's crazy about this hat company, and I am too, because I see the marketing, and he buys these hats and he gets stopped all the time, and it's very limited branding on there, but there's a branding story about this hat company that has resonated with him. Plus the quality's there, the product's there, the marketing's there. It's $100 hat, so it's not an inexpensive hat, and he's not one to spend that much money on a hat, but he's bought so much into this brand that it has become his number one hat brand. And I think that's pretty compelling in a market that has everyone is building is has a ball cap, right? So that is the power of a brand strategy. And I see this a lot with many brands. They come out, they have a story, a beautiful story, but they stop telling it because they think, oh, I did one video on my website, or I did one video on Instagram, everyone knows my story. No, you have to continue to tell your story in new and unique ways, because that customer that maybe heard it the first time, she's going to buy into it if you're continuously talking about the why behind your brand, and telling that person, the story, so that they are like, wow, I want to be a part of this brand. Why do you think Apple is Apple? Why do you think there are people who have Apple and that's all they buy? I'm on an Apple laptop. I have an Apple iPhone. I have an iPad. That is just, I identify with that brand. I identify with the story behind that brand. It is my brand. I have not steered away from that brand. And that is one example, but there are many examples of brands. Lululemon is another example of a brand. There are many competitors that have entered the space. Yes, and they are grabbing probably some of their market share, but the go-to brand is for the woman who wants to wear, you know, her go-to for at leisure is probably Lululemon, and they have kept their following because they've been very focused on the yoga and on the yoga industry. They branched out into, of course, every type of sport possible, but they have a very clear and compelling story that they continue to tell about their brand. And I can tell you, they built that brand that way because I remember when Lulu entered the market. I'm going to age myself, but I remember feeling it was different. They talked about the fabric, they talked about the quality, they talked about the fit, they told the story, they put it in yoga studios. So they built in the lifestyle so it appealed to people who were wearing it. And they had stayed true to that for many, many, many years. And they continue to have a very, very big business because of it. So there are others that have entered into. Aloe is another example, right? They have a story behind their brand. It's an elevated at leisure brand that has elements of Lululemon, but is definitely more of that fashion lifestyle around at leisure. But it's very clear what they stand for, and they have a following of consumers that buy them for that. So I just want to share this with you because I feel like in this market, we're missing that key component, which is building your brand. Whether it's your personal brand or if it's a consumer brand, you need to build that brand. You need to tell that story. You need to own that story. You should become a category of one in whatever category you're in. They should say, There's no other brand I buy in this category because this is my brand. This is the brand that identifies with who I am. I support this brand's mission. I support their vision. Their product delivers on the promise. And this is my brand. And so I will just leave you with that. This is short, but I like to keep these short sometimes because this is not complicated. Build your brand first. Tell your story. Make sure that you are doing that over and over again organically. You don't need to pay to tell your story, which is another important part. When we were building VIX, we had to be on the front of magazines. We got PR. We had to pay a PR agency. Not that you can't do that now, but now you can run at organic on Instagram, on Snapchat, on whatever, right? You can do organic on TikTok. There's so many ways that you can tell your brand story with a live human being, with the voice of the brand founders, whoever they are, saying, here's why we do what we do, talking about the product, the fabrications, the consumer, how it makes you feel when you wear this brand, how it makes you look at this brand, all of those things, right? So you can do that now for the cost of the labor to create the assets. You don't need to pay for marketing like you used to. So there's no excuse to not tell your brand story in a compelling way. And again, when I say this, I mean this. It's not just one time on your about page on your website. It is every time you're posting, there's an element of your DNA in that post. Whatever it is, you are telling that story. That consumer is seeing that. They are seeing themselves in your story and they want to be a part of that story. That is what building a brand is. And there has never been an easier time where you need less resources financially to build a brand. Again, personal brand or consumer brand. So there's really no excuse for skipping this step, this very important step. So I'm going to leave you on that note. Hopefully, this helps. I will go into more about brand building and future, maybe some teaching modules where I can talk a little bit more about how to build a brand. But for now, I just want to plant that very important seed. If you are a new entrepreneur, the when I meet with emerging entrepreneurs that have startup brands, the first thing I talk about is branding. What does your brand stand for? I actually have a course that I don't even sell. I literally seed it to my clients so that they can see these things firsthand and actually execute on them. So I have startups that take this course and they do it because it helps them. One, it takes time for me to do these things and typically they don't have the resources to invest in that, but I want to give them a tool that they can implement. So I built this course for that reason. And I will just say that it makes a huge difference because they are building the foundation the correct way. They're building their brand and then they're building their product on top of that and they're building their market on top of that. And when you have a strong brand, you will spend less on marketing. I promise you, when you have a good, solid product that delivers for the consumer, you will spend less on marketing. So building the brand and building the product are definitely what help to accelerate your growth without having to spend what another brand might have to spend on marketing because they're not doing those things. So I'll leave you on that note. Hopefully, you have a great day and I'll talk to you soon.